Hey, it's PMR. This is my menu video for sports photography action performance on the A1 Mark II. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is the camera. Unfortunately, I've got to return it tomorrow morning by FedEx. I was so fortunate to get an early shot at shooting a game with it yesterday. That video will come probably in a couple days. It's a big, I ended up with 313 keepers from 7,000 pictures from the Tennessee UTEP game yesterday. But that will be for another day. Today we're just gonna dive into the menus and I'm gonna give you my best I've only had a little bit of time with this camera, so I may redo this video at some point in the future, but for right now, if you're a sports photographer or you're shooting things that move, this is a really good primer, a starting place. This is not like, hey, this is what you have to do. You don't. But if you start with these settings, I think you're going to be successful in shooting sports. And then you can tweak them as you go. So let's go ahead and get into it. Image quality, I'm going to not kill you guys and talk about JPEG versus HEIF, but if you shoot HEIFs, you definitely want the 422. And if you want some more information about shooting HEIFs, you can look right here and there's a couple videos. So there's enough about that. You definitely want your, most of you are going to be shooting RAW plus JPEG, so I'm just going to set it that way, even though I just shoot pretty much JPEG or HEIF. These days I don't fool with RAWs. The RAW files are over 130 megabytes from this camera. They're big. But if you do shoot JPEG, I like to do extra fine, and I don't mess with this, so there you go. Aspect ratio, I think you're all going to use the full sensor, so that's cool. Okay, if you shoot movies, I'm just going to point this out. The camera will come set to 120p out of the box. Most of you are going to shoot 24p, and just make sure it's set for 422 10-bit. This is your highest setting. So sorry about that. I'm going to jump back into sports now, but I do both, so I just wanted to get into that. High ISO noise reduction, you've got normal, low, and off, and I'm going to turn it off. I think that I do better in post with Topaz than I do with anything automated within the camera. So you might find, your mileage may vary. So I shoot Adobe RGB because I'm a JPEG shooter a lot, most often, and but if you shoot RAW, you don't need to worry about this. This is off when you get the camera out of the box. I like to have the serial number embedded in the XIF data because it'll help me track down a camera that's a problem, especially if I'm one of 5 or 7 people on a project. It's just easier to figure it out. Just gonna point out this is the continuous shooting speed. These are changeable. So if you mostly shoot, high school sports, you may want to just use 20 frames a second. 30, you just burn a lot of extra pictures. So I was shooting SEC yesterday, so I was at 30 frames per second, but I often shoot at 20 or even 15, depending on the sport. But I will leave that to you. I'm gonna leave mine there. Okay, we're gonna get into pre-capture here. If you're not familiar with pre-capture, my A9 III video I've got some separate videos on the A9 III specifically on pre-capture that you might want to reference. There'll be more information there that I can give here. However, I'm going to turn pre-capture on and pre-capture at 0.1 seconds. I think that's about right. So you can go less than that in various increments, but depending on the sport, I'll go with either 0.03 or 0.1. But actually, I'm going to leave it at 0.03 because I'm going to be doing some track, I think, next. So pre-capture start trigger, both valid is best to make sure that you're turning on pre-capture before. One other thing I want to mention, if you choose to use pre-capture, you now may not use anti-flicker. So you have to choose between the two. So if you shoot at a field that's really bad with flicker, you're really not going to be able to use pre-capture because you don't want to mess with all those pictures and try to fix them when they're all wacky color. So it's either anti-flicker or pre-capture. Okay. You're going to mostly want to be on electronic shutter, I think. Okay, release lag. You want fastest release on, definitely. Release without lens, I enable that, but release without card, I disable because I don't want to shoot. I don't want to think I'm shooting and I'm not shooting. So, and remember, we've got pre-capture turned on, so when I go to this, it's grayed out. It will not let me in. So you have to go back to pre-capture, turn it off, and then this will turn white, and you'll be okay. So I hope I was clear about that. Steady shot on, definitely. You know, a lot of people think that if you shoot sports, you don't need to worry about steady shot, but you do, because when the quarterback releases the ball and you got to find the receiver, or you lose the running back and then you have to find them really quick, it'll help the camera settle quicker and you'll get sharper frames if you're using pre-capture. So I would definitely leave it on. Okay. I don't use aspect markers for shooting sports, so. Okay. There's a white balance setting here that is a little different than the normal one, and this is the one here, priority set and auto white balance. The normal one is just AWB standard, but I find I get much better quality out of the pictures, and I do less with color correction by using this white setting. So again, your mileage may vary. Okay, AFC is the only thing we're going to use in sports photography, and you want balanced, definitely balanced. Let's see here. AF tracking for speed change. I do responsive. AF illuminator, you got to turn that off because if you're shooting basketball, it'll emit a light, and that's illegal in the NCAA, and most high schools will not. They won't tolerate that. It's pretty bright light. It's a focus aid that comes on that illuminates what you're pointing the camera at, and you just don't want it to be some kid's eyes. Okay, AF with shutter, I turn off, but this is on when it comes out of the box. So if you're getting kind of goofy results and you're shooting and you're trying to figure out what the heck's going on, it might be because you have AF shutter on with a shutter release and you got to turn it off and then just go back button focus. And you can argue with me in the comments if you don't use back button focus, that's fine. It's just 99.999% of us do that shoot sports, so I'll leave it at that. Okay, focus area. I'm using the small more and more now, especially with the 600, but anyway, yeah. There's these custom ones which I don't use. I think they would be pretty good for like auto racing and stuff, but I'm not interested in that. So just yeah, we want to go down to, oh, there's no lens attached, so it won't let me do the tracking ones. That's why. So sorry about that. Focus area color, you definitely want that on red and not white. Okay, subject recognition in autofocus. You want to turn that off. Definitely off. Recognition target, just leave it on human. Do not trust the camera. I did a separate video on this. It's so important. I made a separate video just for this thing. This automatic subject recognition will screw you on shooting sports. Guys are wearing helmets in football, for instance, and it'll search the crowd in the autofocus background of your pictures, and it'll jump off sometimes. It's just really bad. It's trying to do a good job, and in most situations in photography, it would do a good job, but in sports photography, it's horrific, so turn it off. You do not want automatic subject recognition on. Okay, I do this. This is going to be off when you get the camera out of the box. I love this feature of double tapping to delete a picture. Some of you may get scared of that, and that's okay, and it may not be your practice, but I love it. And when there's a series, sometimes I get a series of out of focus pictures, and I just want to make them all go away as fast as possible, and I could just keep hitting double tap, and then they go away. You can go further and then erase it, and you can't get it back. So just be aware of that. Okay, this is going to be off when you get the camera out of the box. Focus frame display. This is a really cool feature, and it lets you discover what your mistake was or if the camera made a mistake. And what it will do is in playback only, it will show you where the autofocus indicator was on that frame. And so you'll know if the camera messed up or if you messed up. And believe me, it's going to be mostly you, but sometimes the camera does. It's pretty rare though. But this will let you kind of review things, and it's just easier. It kind of teaches you as you go as well. Okay. I'm going to blow through these. Somebody better prepared for this can do the Bluetooth and the pairing, and I just have a lot of problems with this. And I don't tether, so none of this stuff is important to me. Okay, here we go. Okay, remember, you can do the time setting in the app, in the various apps, so don't feel like you got to try to do it manually. But that's probably worth another video. But anyway, I'm in New York time zone, and so. Okay, on this, I do change the... So I do, let's see here, what do I do? Well, I haven't done it on this camera yet because I'm about to send it back, but the number 1 button here, I turn that into crop. It's really handy, just a number 1 button right behind the shutter release. And that way you can crop a picture like right after you shot it on the fly. When you crop it, it will make a copy of the picture that's cropped. So you'll have the image that you shot, and then right next to it, after it, it will be the cropped version. But the key is that will be a new 2 megabyte file that's resampled, so that if you, in the old days, if you sent the picture to your phone right out of the camera without cropping it, and then you cropped it like down to 1/3 of its normal size, you might end up with like a 0.5 megabyte picture, and it just falls apart even in social media. So if you want that really nice, beautiful look, crop first, then send it to your phone, then you can go take it from there. And then I always change this to the punch-in button on the, I never use focus hold for any reason, so on the lenses that have the button, you can just change it to this and it works great. Okay, and let's see here. I think, yeah, I was just gonna kind of show you that the 3 button is set up as the voice memo hold, so anyway, it's pretty cool. The function menu I'm not going to do, but the top ones are for still photography, the bottom ones are only for video, but you can pick 12 different ones and you can put whatever you want in each one, and it's a much faster way to access the files. So I'd strongly recommend you do that on your own based on what you need. And these are the playback function menu settings. So you can have all kinds of more stuff in there for that. Record video with shutter, I turn that on. It's just hard for me to change buttons. I don't do very well with that. New stuff. Okay, this is super, super important. Your monitor brightness. The monitor brightness you don't really care about, but your viewfinder brightness is really, really important. I think this is, but notice they're both in manual, But the viewfinder brightness is really, really, really important. And that is because if you leave that on automatic, when you go into a dark situation, the viewfinder is going to dim and it's going to affect your exposure information. So what you see is what you get is not going to be accurate. And the same thing if you go out in really bright sunlight and you start using that feature, that automatic feature, it's going to actually brighten the screen, which is going to mess up your understanding of your own exposure. It's always best to leave your EVF exposure at 0. So please take my advice on that. It's really, really important. You don't want to, you'll be in full manual and the thing the camera will be giving you bad information about what's a correct exposure. So it's really important not to use that. So turn those off. Again, these are just my set of menu settings. I got to figure out a way to record this on, like record it onto a SD card and then stick it on the internet someplace, because it would be so much easier because you could just download it, put it on a card, put it in the camera and load it. I'm going to work on that and figure it out. I hope this has helped you. Again, this is just my settings. I'm not saying that this is the gospel truth. You can change whatever you want to, but if you get the camera out of the box, this is like, way more advanced than the computers that sent the Apollos to the moon. So there's a whole lot in here, and I want you to have the best foot forward when you start shooting the A1 Mark II. And I think that these settings will really help you do that. And then you can adjust wherever you want to after that. But please use this as a primer and share it with your friends. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.